Hey guys, welcome to the live stream, and this is going to be a little bit of a follow-up to my last live stream that I just did about the 2020 presidential election as of October 8th, 2020. And during this live stream, we're going to be discussing the latest upgoings in American politics. We're going to be discussing some of the recent events. We're going to be discussing the presidential election strategy, and we're going to be discussing all of these other things. So we have TNT to go in the highs. How are you? So, yes, I did see your email. I'm gonna get back to you after I film the video, or the live stream. So, yeah, definitely I'll check it out. So, I've been trying to plan what I'm gonna do comprehensively for election night right now, and at this point in time, I'm debating two different things. Just so you guys know, that I'm gonna either do an election night where we will be doing. I would go to Washington perhaps and do everything live from Washington. That would be a pretty good thing. I think that could definitely be in the works. Or I could just do everything like remotely from my house and have guests and a panel on. So let's see what you guys think would be better. And I would like to hear your guys' opinion. But the first topic I would like to bring up in this live stream is that essentially there's something we need to take a look at right now. And that is that we have a very interesting race right now. And the Republicans are running out of money. So there's many things the Republicans could definitely do. Because truth is they're very behind, both at poll numbers, but also monetarily. Monetarily, the Republican Party is very, very far behind. Which, of course, that is never good. Because in politics, you need to spend that money because having money left over in the bank is not good unless you don't need it anymore. But at this point, the Republicans have a very big fundraising and spending money problem they're going to have to fix. And at this point in time, there's only certain things they can really do about it. And essentially, they're looking at a presidential race that is becoming more and more expensive because they need to take care of more and more states. In addition to, they're looking at a lot of Senate races, which have unexpectedly become more and more expensive. Take races like Kansas, take races like South Carolina, which these are races that maybe perhaps a lot of people did not expect to be these super tight races. But truth of the matter is, Barbara Bollier is very, very tight in Kansas. We're seeing Jamie Harrison do very, very well in South Carolina. The Republican Party is having to give up a lot of money on a lot of these Senate seats. And the presidential race becoming more and more expensive by the day as they fall more and more behind, over 14 points. And I think at this point, the Republicans are going to have to make a decision. Either they're going to take the White House and re-elect Donald Trump, or they're going to spend and put all their efforts on the Senate. Both strategies aren't bad because both have, I would say, an equal amount of power when it comes to different things, of course. And I think at this point in time, that's something to definitely take a look at. So overall, the Republican Party has that issue, and I think they should definitely be looking out to see what they should really do. Because again, being behind in money is never ever good. So TNT the Goat says, but I'm scared of Wisconsin because Clinton was up 6.5% on election day. Biden is up by around 5 points. That is a fair point, and I would say that. For example, looking at the Rust Belt states, especially, which were the states that were mostly wrong, we could say, from that election. Here's the thing. In those states, we must take a look at that. Maybe the polling data was wrong in 2016, but we are not sure if that's going to translate into 2020. Polls might have been pretty off in that state, but truly we won't know what it's going to be like until we see election day. Overall, we're looking at a race in the state of Wisconsin especially, where it's a lot of undecided, quiet voters. And here's the thing to understand. Who are these people that are speaking up? They're being adamant. And look, in every single state, we could suppose there is a Trump base. In every single state, there's going to be a Biden base. Whether it be small, like 25% of the population that votes, to over a big majority like Washington, D.C. for the Democrats, 90%. Essentially, the vocal, whatever you hear in these states out of people's mouth could really not mean anything. This goes for yard signs. This goes for people on the street protesting. that could just be significant of a small group of people that gathered. Because remember, these states have millions and millions of people. Chances are that most of people were not going to be polled. Most of the people are going to stay silent about who they're voting for. And I think at this point in time, it's something we must take a look at. So I want to say hi to everyone that's coming into the chat. So, thanks, Frank. And then we have Khan. And Khan says, RCP have Trump 42% in 2016. That is true. That's like in the last poll, which was like the most radical. In 2016, we also have the fact that the third-party candidates took a very big percentage of the polls. But in this election, Trump is like, in the last poll we had nationwide, it was, if I'm correct, was it 42%? 42%, I think it was. 41%, something like that. And Biden led by 17 points. Very large margins of victory, which at this point in time, it was very big. So TNT the GOAT says, can the Democrats get to 60 Senate seats? At this point, I'm doubting it. Because here's the thing about getting to 60 Senate seats. You have to win in a lot of places where victories are going to be hard. Let's suppose with the regular electoral Senate map, including both Montana and Iowa, and then kind of the states that are kind of pretty much said that they're going to the Republicans, we have a 52 to 48 in favor of the Democrats. They would need to whisk up, 8 more Senate seats? So we have 8. So we have Texas could probably go. We could look at Alabama. We could look at Kansas. We could look at South Carolina. We could look at Alaska. They need 3 more. If I'm forgetting a state, I don't know what I'm forgetting, but they need 3 more seats. And those 3 seats are going to be the hardest one. And they're going to have to be because I'm already including Maine in that kind of list of states that are probably leading by the Democrats. Sarah Gideon is leading there. But overall, they need 3 more seats. Where they're going to get them, I'm not really sure. And that's the issue with getting the Democrats to 60 seats. They're far behind in a way because maybe they have a very big chance of winning the Senate, but winning the Senate doesn't guarantee you anything. And especially when it comes to these supermajorities. There hasn't been a supermajority of 60 seats or more, or a filibuster-proof majority in the Senate since, I guess, a long time. And then the last time we saw that, it was essentially, or we got close to that, was when the Democrats had that pretty big amount of seats in the Senate. So it would be a forced stretch. Oh, yes, you can stretch both of Georgia's seats in Kentucky. There we go. You have 60 seats. It's definitely possible now that I think of it. Overall, it's possible. It's highly unlikely. It would be stretching it. So, yeah, I forgot about those 2 states. But overall, it's something that's not very likely. But it's possible. And if it does end up happening, that's going to be one big thing for the Democrats, that if they win in all those races, if Biden gets elected, they can do anything. And can Biden get to 400? Absolutely. At this point in time, Biden could get to 400. I think his max is 413 electoral votes. That would be Texas, the 2 congressional districts, Ohio, Iowa, North Carolina, Florida, Arizona, the Rust Belt, all those different states, Georgia. And overall, I think he'd definitely get to 400 easily. Now, is that the most likely scenario out of the race? Perhaps not. That's stretching it. And I would definitely say that we're looking at a race where it's not super likely, but it could definitely happen at this point in time. And we're looking at a very bad map for the Republicans, as they are defending a lot. The Republican Party, you must understand, they were defending. And in politics, again, defending a seat is a lot harder than playing the offensive, because you have to back up everything you've said in the past, everything, your rhetoric, things you've done. And I think for the Republicans, it may be a little hard just because the media, the way communications work, and the way that the Democrats have been able to geniusly, at a political level, use the words of the Republicans against them. That's what's putting the Republicans behind. That's what's making them fall more behind. If Trump wins, the Democrats will be in a weird spot for the future. Yes, because if Trump wins, I mean, the chances are that the Senate won't be that bad for the Republicans. They probably would lose it, though. And then the Democrats are going to be in a weird position, because I think at this point in time, after a Trump presidency, what are going to be his impacts on the Republican Party? That's the very big question. The impact may not be large at all. It really could not. I mean, it really cannot. I mean, in certain ways, like, it's not necessary. Because I mean, if we're looking at a Trump, we could say victory, we should be looking at a lot of different areas of the country voting for President Trump. Most likely, it's going to be due to the suburbs and the white working class. So definitely, that would be somewhat to look in. And I think at this point in time, just basing it off of the things that we have, the Democrats would definitely be in a very weird spot. When you think is the point of no return of Trump's poll numbers, I think we've reached that point, and we reached it when he got that poll about 15%. We're only 2 weeks away from the election day. If this was midsummer, I would say don't pay attention to it. Something's gonna happen. But we're like literally 3 weeks away from election. Most states have already started early voting. He is behind by 17 points. Keep in mind, that's larger than the summer big downfall that he had after the pandemic and Black Lives Matter movement. And this has been a very big poll drop for President Trump after the debates. And I think that really hurt him a lot. In 2024, do you think other than Pence could get the Republican nomination for the Republicans? At this point in time, I think for the Republicans, it's going to be between Josh Hawley. I think it would be between Nikki Haley and Ted Cruz would be in the running, along with Mike Pence. And I will tell you this. After last night's debate, I think Mike Pence should definitely run for president in 2024 because he has the presidential aspect to him. With Kamala Harris, like, if you talk about a little bit, she essentially was debating for vice president. She was looking at the surrogate, she was in the surrogate mindset type of debate. And we saw Mike Pence do a very good job at running things. Like, it wasn't questions about Donald Trump. It was questions about him personally, which I think was a very strong, and I think he could definitely get the nomination in 2024. Legend Bartlett asked, Purple, what about Trump conceded the second debate? What would that hurt him? I think at this point in time, Trump is going to be somewhat proof of hurting more because he is so far behind. I highly doubt that Biden is actually leading by 17% nationwide. It could be, but here's the one reason I doubt that. For that to happen, you would have to have massive support amongst Republicans and pretty much sweep the independent vote, which I know that's not happening. And I think we might be a little bit more accurate representation of the Biden lead nationwide would probably be 8 or 9 points. And I think it's just stated as being exaggerated. And of course, people are going to focus on the largest numbers when it's both sides. They're going to be focusing on their largest numbers because, again, a psychological way these candidates try to get things in people's head is you don't want to vote for the loser, just vote for the winner, and we're winning. So that's something to keep in mind. Trump tried to reschedule. Biden's campaign said, you don't make the debate rules, you can't reschedule. I think in this case, like, he had COVID. I think on his part, it was very, very, like, I guess, not good that he didn't even want to do it virtually. And I get it. I mean, especially with something like that, you would rather be in person. Biden campaign, again, wasn't very helpful with the situation either. But since both campaigns really didn't do anything about it, no one's going to hurt from it. But how about the scandal in 2016? That is 2 weeks before the election. I would say that if Biden can hold this lead 1 week before election, then the election may be over at that point. That's true. But here's the thing to understand. First of all, maybe we'll get something, but I'm very, 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 I would be very shocked if we did. And I think at this point in time, the Biden team, we just have a very big lead. And of course, big leads can change like that. Alabama Senate race, if we can remember. And I think just overall, chances of a very big overturning might be very low. And here's the thing. In 2016, the mainstream media was very, very, very against Hillary Clinton in certain ways. They were pushing hard on those damn emails like Bernie Sanders likes to say. And I think at this point in time, we are looking at something completely different because the mainstream media is attacking Trump at every single angle they can. And whether it be right or wrong or rightfully or not rightfully. And I think that's something that we must analyze and keep in mind because the mainstream media, whether you deny it or not, they're taking things, they're twisting it. Most of the time, it's affecting the Republicans. And I think for the mainstream media, they haven't been able to recognize certain things. And when something comes out that doesn't benefit what they want to say, they just come up with a new news story and a new headline. Now, is all the mainstream media fake? No, I think the mainstream media is misleading, and that is something we must understand. And that's important where you get your news, because right now, you're not getting news, you're getting commentary. That's what you're getting from a lot of these places. From Fox, CNN. CNN has become not a news channel where you would get professionals, experts in the area. you would get these politicians, these commentators, people who just comment about politics and turn it into some sort of sport and show, which is not the point of the news. The point of the news is to be informed about the real, true, unbiased facts. And unfortunately, that's not happening. Would Trump run for a second non-consecutive term in 2024 if he loses in 2020? I would think I wouldn't, like you're saying, I don't think he would not do that. I think he could. He definitely is the type of person to do that. However, I think he's probably not going to do that. By that point, he's going to be, 82? And no, he's not going to be 82. He's going to be 78. So, 78, that's pretty old. And I think he's not going to be able to do that. Okay, so Legend Bartlett asked, he said he would retire from public service if he loses in November. Are you talking about Trump or, I think you're talking about Trump. Maybe, perhaps. Biden's doing town hall after Trump conceded with ABC News. I mean, that doesn't surprise me. And right now we're seeing a lot of things with Biden doing a lot of these town halls. And this is another thing that I noticed. I have a feeling that they're putting these people in these audiences and they're carefully picking who they put in each audience, which is not fair. These are supposed to be real undecided voters, not what the mainstream media wants to say and do. And like right now, I'm going to tell you something. Mainstream media has a lot of bias. Maybe it's corporate, but that corporate bias is affecting the American election. And we're seeing a very big between fact and fiction when it comes to those medias. Not saying that Republicans and Democrats, none of them are angels. Neither is the mainstream media. Purple, what would you make of Trump saying Barr should arrest Biden, Obama, and Hillary Clinton before the election? Is that a concern? If they did something wrong, which at this point it may look like they might have done something, especially when it comes to like the meddling in the election, because we got recent reports, and I think we're getting more information very soon about the 2016, the Russians, how that was a setup towards Trump. If that does end up being true, I think they should be investigated. If it ends up being true and damning, sure, just go by the justice system. However, I don't think it's going to happen, first of all, and second of all, not probably going to happen before the election. Which network has the best election music? Random question. I am the only one that pays attention to it. Let me tell you, you're not the only one. Okay, so if you're really in for a stressful election night, watch CNN's election night music or listen to it. Very stressful to beat. I really dislike CBS's theme. It's very boring. It's like piano music. I would say the most interesting is either that one. I really like Fox News' election night theme. It's very like fast-paced and it's interesting. Ratcliffe is doing to help Trump because disinformation to feed Trump's conspiracy theories on Spygate. Who knows? And I think at this point, that's another thing. We're seeing too many conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theories could end up being true. All we know. And maybe perhaps they could be investigating it a little bit more. But here's the thing to understand. The justice system has to work whether you're president, whether you're not president, whether your best friend is president, whether you're not, like whether your enemy is president. You're going to have to work and with the justice system to make sure the rule applies to everyone equally. NBC is like, yeah, it's like true democracy. It's da 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 da. I'm not gonna sing because that's horrible, but yeah. What do you think Trump supporters will do if they lose the election? I think it's not going to be as huge of an uproar as maybe if the Democrats lost the election. However, I think the most thing that could happen was maybe like, I don't know, some Trump supporters, like more of the more radical ones, if you could say, they would probably go out and protest and do some stuff like that. CNN is way too intense. I think that you're right. Like CNN, like when I watch election nights on CNN, it's horrible because one, you're actually nervous because like, crap, these election results are coming in and your life is going to be affected for a long time because of these. Just only that, but then adding the factor of the very pressing music, which is very, very like in your face and stuff like that, that really like is very suspenseful. Trump is going to win. I'm not really sure about that, but maybe. Purple, can I ask you who you support? Just curious. So right now, I mean, I don't really support anyone in this election. And it really comes down to a couple different things. I think both candidates are not perfect. And both of them have their good sides, though. They both have good policies that would help out everyone. Now, the one concern I do have is the radicalization. And I think it's very important to keep the nation as a whole politically moderate. It's very important. And when you start going too far on one side, you have to make everything go back down the center. Right now, during this election, I would say that one of the things that creeps me out a little bit about Biden is that there might be a very far left agenda. And again, I'm one of those people who believe none of the extremes is never good. And Biden himself might not be far left. However, the people behind him, the people that are going to be doing a lot of these big projects under his administration, might be. And that's something that keeps me worried. So take that as you will, but I really don't support any candidate, really. Trump supporters are more enthusiastic to get out and vote compared to the previous election. Democrats are less enthusiastic to vote for Biden than they did for Clinton. That is definitely a fact. And you could say, I hate Donald Trump, but if you don't go out and vote, that's not going to matter. I mean, congratulations, you had your opinion, but really that's not going to have a big impact on the election. So that's a fair point. Do you think Democrats should sweep the election while Trump's stuck at home purple? I think the Democrats are doing that. And I think this is a great opportunity for the Republicans to give up on the race. Although giving up is never good, and we have all learned that from a lot of life lessons. The thing is that the Republicans are in a money crunch. They have tons of races in the Senate that are very contested. Some races that shouldn't be contested at the first place, they're like within a couple of points. And that is dangerous. They're giving away so much money in the presidential race for what? To have a 15-point loss, maybe, if we look at the most recent polling data. And I think that's really bad. And I think they should just be turning their money to the Senate. Let the Democrats sweep the presidency, because if you have the presidency but don't have the Senate, you're not getting anything done. That's just the facts. You guys should listen to This Land by Jib Jab. I don't know. Do you think that Biden would be like Ronald Reagan in 1980 and Trump is Jimmy Carter on that time? I think this is kind of where we might be headed, just because the economy crashed so recently, and it's a very, very interesting trend. Especially the brief 1-second stops in the old CBS election night theme is good. You know what election night theme, now that you're talking about election night themes, I really don't like? That is the old CNN theme. It was very weird. It was very classical mixed with their new theme. Overall, not the biggest fan. And I'm going to tell you something right now. This election is truly going to come down to the last couple of states. We're not going to know the real winner of this election until, well, God knows, a very long time. Because everything is going to be carefully counted, carefully observed, just because they don't want to mess it up in certain ways. And of course, who will want to mess up this election? And I think it's a very core value of American democracy that is necessary, that the American people need to make sure that they vote for the right person. And I think at this point in time, this race is going to be very interesting. So guys, I'm going to cut this live stream a little bit short. So today's live stream was pretty short when it came to the more discussion live stream. So I'm going to be doing a lot more of these live streams. I don't think if you guys have noticed, the way I'm going to start doing videos perhaps is maybe over the weekends I would actually post and premiere a video. But during the week, since I'm starting to get a little bit more busy with going to school in real life, I'm going to start doing more live stream, because I think for me that's just easier. And who knows, if you guys like this live stream setup and how I'm doing it, please tell me down in the comments. If not, it's fine. I may just go back to just pre-filming my videos, but it really depends. So I really want to see what you guys think. And hope you guys enjoyed this live stream. It was 24 minutes essentially of pretty enjoyable time, and hope you guys enjoy yourselves, and please stay safe from the pandemic, and goodbye.